we're missing a champ, Grant Johnson, not going to line up after yesterday's crash.
No, that's right, but the good news is that he is back. He spent some overnight in hospital, but is coming back to the track today, which is fantastic. So good to hear that he's okay after a 180-kilometre-hour crash into that turn 8. So unfortunately, they did clear him okay from his CAT scan, but they found while they were giving the CAT scan, they found he had a giant cyst in his body, which they actually have to remove as a result. So he's cleared from one thing and then gained another.
Now, Gary Baxter will start from pole alongside Ryle Harris, who won race 2 that we saw yesterday. The grid for this race is determined by the combined results of the first 2 races. Leighton Cranbrook, the reigning champ, he actually hasn't finished a race yet.
But watch him, though. He is amazing from the back of the grid. This guy passed 16 cars in 2 laps in race 2 until his bonnet came up, which means he starts from the back of the grid today.
Leighton Cranbrook was also taken to the medical centre along with Grant Johnson, but he was cleared with no injury. Now, he was really hoping to start this last race from about mid-pack. Unfortunately, it's not to be, but as we said, he's fast. Watch out for him to make his way through the field in this final race.
Ron Ingerson in pit lane with us today for this one. The DBA in-car with Craig Dontis starting 8th in the Thirsty Camel Falcon, one of 3 local South Australians in the top 8, so they know their way around this track.
The utes around Clipsal, you can't beat it. An Aussie invention meant to carry your dog and your girl. Maybe not necessarily in that order.
The Dodo in-car with Jack Elsgood. He starts 2nd row of the grid, so Gary Baxter on the front row to the left, Ryle Harris, the young Queenslander, to start alongside. Row 2, Kim Jane, last year's runner-up, and Jack Elsgood, who's been the perennial runner-up in years gone by.
Watch Baxter's starts. He has been amazing. The local icon is away, and it's a run down to turn 1.
Ryle Harris gets the jump on the inside. He's looking good for this round, a 2nd and a 1st in the 2 races so far. 8 laps the distance.
Well, you get chills when you see these boys on turn 1. We've seen so much carnage over the years in the ute. You virtually have to almost turn your brain off in lap 1 of the ute. You've got such a heavy car, nearly 1,800 kilo, and you've got less than half the rubber of a V8 supercar, so they're difficult to pull up. They're terrible on cold tyres, but boy, they turn on some brilliant racing.
That was Kurt Wimmer making 2 spots up. He started a long way back, 22nd in the Wilson Brothers team car. He will charge through this field, but Andrew Fisher, the Jesus Falcon, just in behind Craig Dontis.
Yesterday, he ran into the back of Kim Jane yesterday, which ruined Kim Jane's chances of being a little bit further up the order. He said it was a hit from Andrew Johnson. Andrew Fisher said it was more of a blessing than a hit.
Turn 8. 6 litres of Holden, 5.4 litres of XR8 Falcon. And it's on here, Kim Jane sneaking through using the curb. That's a ute driving style.
They're not meant to stay on the black stuff. These things are designed for the outback. But around here, no one knows how to steer them better than that bloke in front, Kim Jane. A great racer, though. We're on board with Jack Elsgood. Actually, the man who was on the scene when I broke my back in the monster truck. He helped me a great deal that day, so he's a good friend.
The hard stop at turn 14. Oh. Charlie Kovacs is right in there and among them as well.
It's the foundations that this category was built on. Cars that move around, they're loud, they're fast, they get into it.
Ryle Harris throws it through. Oh, Kimby gets miles away from us there. Nothing, he didn't drive over us. I think they did all right then.
Scene of a monster shunt there last year in turn 1 and 2. Good to see that no major carnage. Jack Elsgood having a look up the inside.
It was close. It was tight down at turn 6, but he's lost all the momentum for turn 7.
You can hear him reset on the throttle there, and that's just lost him that car length. Steve
Hodges, the Isri Truck Seats Commodore, having a drama. He was running mid-pack, but has dumped himself a lot of time. Now, 2-horse race. Ryle Harris and Gary Baxter.
Listen to the tyre squeal.
They've edged away from Kim Jane. Elsgood sits next. Then it's Charlie Kovacs, George Mediki, Craig Dontis. That's Craig in the bright green Falcon. A replay here. Glenn McNally, a small lock-up. Oh. Steve Hodges, a bigger one.
Just didn't quite get away with that. Once you lock these things up, as I said, 1,800 kilo of mass, they're very, very difficult to turn on what is just an R-spec racing treaded tyre, so they're not as slick like a V8 supercar, and that's what makes these things so great. You know, they tend to move around a lot, but when you get it wrong, gee, they're hard to recover.
Craig Dontis, turn 14. 8 laps for this third and final race, the first round of the season. And we talked about controversial qualifying format for V8s. The Utes made a bit of a change this year. They've awarded points this year for qualifying for the first time, something different.
One thing you've also noticed too, Aaron, is that the first 3 cars are Holdens. They have had a front-end suspension upgrade for this particular round. Up the inside, is he going to pull it off?
Oh, George Medicki down at turn 4. Charlie Kovacs doesn't want to give him any room there.
He never has. I remember racing this bloke. He's been there from day one of the Utes back in 2001, and he's always been a tenacious fighter. And that handlebars mustache that he has sometimes gets in the way of his eyes, I think.
I don't know how he trims the one on the bumper bar.
Of course, former Guinness World Record holder for towing the Caravan at the highest ever recorded speed. So that gives you an idea into the mental state of the man. He's a legend of a bloke.
Looking back from Andrew Fisher to Craig Dontis, now turn 8.
Guys, Ryle Harris is feeling the pressure from Gary Baxter now, but in yesterday's race it was Kim Jane, and Kim tried a late race pass on Harris. I asked Ryle what he thought of that at the end of the race, and he said his dad Ken, who was on the radio to him, didn't tell him it was the last lap. He said, I'm going to have a word to Dad and make sure he keeps me up to speed in today's race.
Oh, no.
I reckon he's got something else on his mind at the moment. It's Gary Baxter, because he's nearly planted on the rear bumper as they make their way over the curb at turn 13. Turn 14, really handy passing chance.
Oh, it certainly is, and if anyone knows how to land a hit, it's Chucky Baxter, black belt in karate.
He's picked up some new backing this weekend from HMNS, Adelaide's premier nursing agency. So,
oh, really?
I don't know how that matches in with V8 Ute racing, though. Have been able to skip away from Kim Jane. The margin back to them is 2.8 seconds. It's all Holden at the moment. They run 1, 2, 3. It's race 3 in the Yokohama V8 Ute Series, powered by Dodo. Is still tight in Adelaide. Andrew Fisher elbowed aside by Charlie Kovacs. That is for 6th place in this race, half race distance.
And proof that Jesus saves. After he kept it off the wall there. This is great racing. They love it around the streets of Adelaide. Of course, it's the place to be, the city of churches for Andrew Fisher.
That one stashed away. I didn't think I was going to get to it, but you've stolen it already. Steve Robinson wide there on the curb in the Air Vanuatu backed Falcon.
This is where you start to notice parts of the differences between a Ford and Holden. They're very, very close in lap time, but they have quite different characteristics. Here, a Ford chasing down a Holden. The Fords have slightly longer second gear, which is great through this complex here. Turn 4, 5, 6 and 7. The Holdens have just that little bit more engine torque.
And look at Fisher trying to round up.
That's the
Charlie
gear ratio.
Kovacs. Yeah, he's in the second gear corner stuff here where the Falcon's good, but Dontis is going the long way around. And just watch out, whoever's lined up behind Fisher is in the best spot here.
He's locked up. He's run wide. This has given them everyone a chance to run up on the inside now.
3 wide on the run to turn 8. Now they need to get sorted before the 150-metre braking marker. So whoever's in front, it's their corner.
Close your eyes.
Steve Robinson, well driven.
Oh, hang on.
Oh, did good. They did all right there.
Obviously, that was the scene of the carnage yesterday for Grant Johnson. 180k into the wall. We see what that can happen. That can put you in hospital. So some smart decision-making then by our 3 drivers.
Now, all of these guys have slowed one another down. Ryle Harris is away in the lead. Fellow Gold Coaster Kurt Wimmer is up to 11th.
It's a great drive.
22nd. Leighton Cranbrook started 31st. He's up to 15th. He's gone through half of them.
Half of the field. Well, there's $500 up for grabs for the hardest charger in this race, so a lot of reason to do it.
Yokohama replay at turn 8, and that's how they made it through.
Just.
So it's still Ryle Harris and Gary Baxter, 1-2, Kim Jane in 3rd. This is Charlie Kovacs, who's got a margin in 6th spot. Craig Dontis, very happy with this new car.
points are starting to walk around on their rubber a fair bit. Remember, they're just an R-spec treaded tyre, so they're starting to heat up dramatically around these very short apex corners, which generate a lot of tyre temperature. And when you're in a ute that's designed to carry a cement mixer in the back, that usually equals trouble.
Ryle Harris leading, Gary Baxter not letting him get away. They're fighting for the round win, remember. Baxter's had a first and a seventh, but Ryle's been a bit stronger. He's had a second and a first, so even if Gary gets by, it probably won't be enough for him to sneak through with the round result.
Yeah, don't rule Baxter out here. We're in for a challenge with just 2 laps to go, because Baxter is the most successful V8 driver on the streets of Adelaide. He loves this place. It's not only just his home, but he's very, very quick here, so he's just setting up Ryle Harris.
And you know what, actually doing some very, very quick maths with those qualifying points added in. Remember, Gary Baxter took pole earlier in the weekend, so he doesn't actually need to pass Ryle Harris to win the round. If he stays where he is, he will clinch the round on home soil, which would be fantastic. But we're still quite a way away from the end of this one. Couple of laps to go, and just when you think a ute race is done with, all sorts of stuff happens.
It's quite a tug of war in your mind. Do you go for the glory of taking the win in this race, or do you consolidate and take the overall round win? So that's what he's toying with here. And as we've seen, it's easy for things to go wrong and those dreams be broken, as many a dream has done over the years for a ute driver.
Charlie Kovacs there has the assistance of former V8 driver Simon Wills. Well, Andrew Fisher used some curb there. That one as well.
Get them all, Andrew.
Turn 4, they've smoothed this out since last year. Justin Van Twest in problems on pit straight. That's a shame, because that's a new car last year that he's just been able to test recently. Had huge brake issues in qualifying, and Kim Jane runs wide at turn 7, but the power of the 6-litre Commodore is enough to get him back in front of Jack Elsgood.
Here's the evidence there, what we're talking about. Through the previous complex, that's where the Ford is strong. This is where the Holden comes into its own. But in the braking zone, you'll find the Falcon is very good. Look at Jack now, faking to the left, trying to spook Kim Jane a little bit. A big lunge.
It's come from
Yes!
He was about 8 years away from getting in the gap, but he was there.
That's what you get from a former Sydney City Roosters player. But it's on again.
But Kim's back in front, the run into the race course, and he is struggling. And you know what? George Mediki's catching the pair of them. He's done the fastest lap of the race last time around, so while these two are punching one another up, he's about to get right into the fight for 3rd and 4th.
On his professional career as a football player, he's used to hitting hard, Jack Elsgood. He doesn't give up. He is a street fighter, a terrific racer. He loves the knuckle to the end, and this ain't over yet.
Check out the rear of George Mediki's car. Slightly rearranged.
It wouldn't be a ute race without it, mate.
Last lap in Adelaide. The last race for the Yokohama V8 Utes. First round of the year. They've got a busy, busy schedule. They're going to be with us at some of the big events.
This is where Jack needs to make the most of where his car is strong. It's in this current complex, so he needs to really get on the back now. Hang on to Kim Jane. If he can't make a move, sit close. After they get through turn 8, he can have a crack in that big braking zone into 9.
And this is where it's critical, the run off 7. And he's got to be careful, because whatever he does, George Mediki's ready to really pounce.
Absolutely, and that's why Jack ran wide there, to try and maximise his run onto the straight. He knows he doesn't have to torque up the hill.
What about Gary Baxter? Has he got anything left for turn 9? He's going for it. Ryle Harris is in really deep, and he's in deep enough.
Is it too deep? He managed to pull the car up. It was on a knife edge there, another foot, and he just would have shot straight on. So that's great desperation braking.
Gary Baxter on the curbs, throwing it. Hey, if you can't win, make it look good.
Super sideways.
The mirror's hanging off for Ryle Harris, but he's done enough. The Global Trading School Commodore.
Great job, brilliant pressure driving. Fantastic way to finish off a great weekend for Ryle Harris.
The fans love it. It's been another Holden domination. Ryle Harris gets across the line to take his 2nd win of the weekend in the first round, and Kim Jane made it through to take 3rd. Jack Elsgood 4th. We'll take a look at the full results when we come back after the break.